Now, Elon today also talked about some of the insane rules around the bureaucracy, some of the rules that really stop them implementing the plans, and also the obvious fraud.
You know, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. So, you know, that's a case where, like, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess.
150-year-olds collecting welfare. And what about all those folks with fixed government incomes, fixed government salaries, who somehow accrue incredible wealth?
Could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about $30 million,
right,
etc.?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that you know, there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, you know, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from.
I'd also like to see some politicians investigated with the same rationale. But politicians who've been in the job sometimes for decades on a fixed government salary, and yet their wealth is enormous, and you wonder where that's come from. Batya, how long can Americans expect to see Elon Musk fill this position? He's a busy man, he's worth hundreds of billions, he's got so many groundbreaking ventures underway. How long can taxpayers expect to get his services for free?
You know, I think the thing that's going to end this romance between him and Donald Trump is not necessarily him wanting to get back to his businesses, but the fact that in some ways his interests are not actually perfectly aligned with those of the MAGA movement. And while what I really appreciate what he's doing here in finding this government waste and saying the taxpayers of the hardworking American belong to Americans, I think that's all great. But even better is the fact that DOGE now has a congressional oversight committee helmed by Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is perhaps the most America First, most important congresswoman in America today. And I'm really looking forward to them taking over this venture in a way that is very organized from within Congress, of course, whose job it is to control the purse and American taxpayers.
Now, to the border crisis, perhaps is no longer a crisis. It seemed within 2 weeks, Trump had reinstated order on that border, and he's pushing ahead with his administration's mass deportation plans. But Borders-Are, Tom Homan, has accused the FBI, people within the FBI, of leaking critical details about planned immigration raids, which are not only frustrating plans to deport illegals, but also putting officers' lives at risk.
We think it's coming from inside, and we know the first leak of Aurora is under current investigation. We think we identified that person under investigation right now. The California leak, Secretary Noem, you know, she's correct. Some of the information we're receiving tends to lead toward the FBI.
But if that is the case, the consequences have to be swift and severe. If it's established that people within the FBI are guilty of these leaks, they need to be behind bars. It's not just enough to sack them, they have to be behind bars.
Yes, definitely should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, anybody who broke the law. But again, you see here, Rita, what you pointed out from the beginning, which is this is the constituency of the Democrats, right? It is career bureaucrats. It is the beneficiaries of government waste. It is the FBI actively undermining the executive branch and Tom Homan, who is unbelievably efficient. And all he wants to do is carry out the mandate given to him by Donald Trump, who got that mandate from the American people. Americans support mass deportations, especially of criminals. This has like 85% support among the American people. And again, you see career bureaucrats, Democrats, FBI agents opposing Donald Trump, but that is opposition to the will of the American people. Donald Trump always said, they don't hate me, they hate you. I'm just standing in the way. And again, we see this borne out. And immigration is simply topic number one when it comes to this. You can see it so clearly. The elites absolutely loathe the average American who wants nothing but a better future for their child.
Now, what's your response to the media, the celebrity activist class, all those who've got a voice, and they say these deportations are inhumane, they're cruel, they're unnecessary? What's your response to that?
What's inhumane is importing millions and millions of people to undercut the labor and the wages of your neighbor who's much poorer than you. It is so disgusting to sit there and to judge people who have so much less than you and smear them as racist for the crime of wanting a labor market that favors the labor of a native-born American. It is supposed to mean something to be an American, and to the elites in this country, the opposite is the case. Everybody else gets preference. Everybody else gets our taxpayer dollars. Everybody else gets access to our labor market. Everybody else's products get shipped in here for cheap, undercutting the labor of the American worker. That is inhumane. It is inhumane to say your neighbor, because they don't have a fancy college degree, should never get to own a home, that they should never get to retire in dignity. And that's what it means when you have an open border. You are effectively saying we're going to have a limitless supply of low-skilled, low-wage laborers to undercut jobs that used to secure hardworking Americans the American dream. And that's to say nothing of the cruelty to the migrants themselves who get raped on the way over here, who get killed on the way over here, who are extorted, who become slaves to the cartels that bring him here. It is cruelty from beginning to end to everybody involved, except the elites who get rich off of these slaves and their labor.
Now, Batya, today, Jordan's King Abdullah II was at the White House. President Trump reiterated his plans to rebuild Gaza, to take over Gaza. He wants Jordan and other countries in the region to do more, including taking in people from Gaza. King Abdullah may not like that plan too much, but he said this. He said, in Trump, he finally sees a leader who can bring lasting stability and peace to the region.
Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals.
What do you think Donald Trump's real plan is here? I don't think he wants to really rebuild Gaza, but how does he engineer an inter-Arab agreement that sees countries like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt take on greater responsibility?
You know what Trump is like? He is like a person who shows up and finds a family, and in this family you have a bunch of very wealthy older siblings, and then you've got one youngest sibling who's totally broke and living in the streets, and the older siblings don't care at all. And Donald Trump is like an outsider who shows up and says, what the heck is going on here? Do you feel no shame that you have a sibling who's out there, who's starving, who's living in the streets, who has nothing, no hope, and no future? That's what he's doing. He is shaming these shameful Arab countries who have allowed the situation of the Palestinians to get worse and worse and worse and done absolutely nothing, while using this as an issue in their domestic politics to get more and more popular. It is absolutely disgusting. When Trump says that none of the Palestinians are going to want to come back, they're going to want to leave, they're going to want to go here, they're going to go there, he's not imagining forced expulsion. It is very clear that what Trump is pointing out is the fact that not a single Palestinian was allowed to flee a war zone because Egypt closed that border. Every war has refugees except this one because they were locked in by Egypt, which did not allow a single Palestinian, not a single grandmother or infant, to escape to freedom. I don't think Trump is planning to force anyone to leave. In his mind, there are many, many Gazans who would voluntarily leave and live somewhere where they could have a better future. Now, whether he's right or wrong about that, we just don't know. Probably many young people would take that option, and many older people would feel, no, I want to stay in my homeland, even if it has been devastated. But the fact that not one of these Arab moderate countries has stepped up to the plate to help these people is disgusting. And Trump is calling them out on it the way that he does so eloquently.
Now, before you go, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has reversed the Biden administration decision to rename Fort Bragg. Bragg is back. And it comes as Hegseth revealed data showing the enormous boost in recruitment numbers since Donald Trump won the election back in November. In December, the US Army had its best recruiting numbers in 12 years. And in January of this year, the Army hit its best recruiting numbers in 15 years, according to Pete Hegseth's data there, and I think that's been verified. It's hard not to see that as a massive positive.
Oh, yeah, definitely during his confirmation hearings. I was looking at that guy and thinking, everyone wants to be on that guy's team. He's good looking, he's manly, he's macho, he's smart, he's, stands up for what he believes in. He seems, like all of the things that you want a warrior to be. This is Pete Hegseth, successful and articulate. That was why he was elected. I mean, he was chosen by Donald Trump. I think he was chosen for this specific purpose. He makes people want to be warriors. And as you pointed out, Rita, he's doing a great job.
He's doing a great job, and they would be absolutely thrilled to see those boost in recruitment numbers. Batya Ungar-Sargon, it is always a pleasure. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be with you.